Good evening, Michaelantonio live here, and I really have to address this after everything that's gone on over the last few days. Well, as you remember, we had a situation where Drew Brees, quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, decided that he was going to just express his opinion about the entire flag situation, the national anthem, the kneeling down by, of course, Mr. Colin Kaepernick a few years ago. See, you can see here, this gentleman here, kneeling down during an NFL national anthem, and he did this a few times. And of course, he said that this was to protest the racism, not just racism in general, but a systemic racism in America. And the police apparently are the enforcers of this racism by going out and just doing all kinds of terrible things against black people. Ignoring the fact that police brutality has happened not just in the black community, but against white people, Hispanics, you name it. There are going to be some bad actors. So what's going on here is that you have a community of people that truly believe that racism is systemic in this country. Now, at one point, it was. I personally do not believe that it is inherently systemic in America right now, while it does exist. And what happened here is, I think this is a political issue more than anything. I think you have a group of people at the top of a particular party who have sold a bill of goods to not only the black community, but to a lot of people in general who believe this thing hook, line, and sinker. Now, let's get it straight. I believe that it's easy to sell this to the black community because, after all, they have experienced racism in one form or another. If you are a black person in this country, yeah, I'm sure you've experienced racism at some point in your life. Now, as a white person, I have actually experienced it for being white. It has happened. It does happen. Now, maybe it doesn't happen as often because I am white. Look, I sympathize with anyone who has been discriminated against based on color, creed, religious affiliation. This stuff does happen. So I don't want to excuse any real issues that might have happened. So I do stand in solidarity with anyone who would say that, discrimination must stop and we have to hold people accountable for discrimination based on unfair situations, unfair designations. For instance, if you are black, or if you are white, or if you are a Christian or Jewish, and somebody discriminates against you based on those factors, I believe you deserve justice. So let's not get this wrong. Let's not treat people like there's something wrong with them because they think it's not what it's not what they say it is. So right now you have groups in this country, large political groups, Antifa, the Democrat Party. Okay, you've got groups that are trying to say they're basically doing this to gain power. They're telling the world that, there's systemic racism and we are going to fix it. Well, the bottom line is they haven't fixed it for how many years that they were in power? Let me just clue you in on what's been going on. I said this before, I'll say it again. Up until the year 1994, the Democrat Party controlled Congress for over 60 years. Let me say it again. The Democrat Party controlled Congress for more than 60 years, everyone. Are you listening? Why is it that they didn't fix the problem by then? If this was such a problem, why didn't they fix it? Well, I will say that the problem was by and large fixed. See, they're trying to say it wasn't fixed. I think by and large it was fixed. And it wasn't just Democrats that fixed it. I think it was a team effort. I think it was America that fixed it. More about that later. But first, I want to go to a commentator on, I believe it's FS1 Fox. This woman, her name is Joy Taylor. And I believe she is on a show with, interestingly enough, speaking of Colin Cowherd. You ever heard of Colin Cowherd? He's a very popular sportscaster on FS1. He used to be on ESPN. Now look, I just wanted to say everyone is entitled to their opinion, and she's entitled to hers, by all means. I don't want to begrudge her and say, well, she can't speak. Of course she can speak. I had a little argument with her the other day on Twitter because she essentially told me to shut up with my opinion. Because apparently my opinion doesn't count. Again, because I am not black, apparently I don't get to have an opinion. Look, I can counter that with a lot of things, but I will say this. First of all, this is America. We all should be able to speak. And in fact, it's better that we all speak. Because usually when you speak, when you allow more people to speak, what happens is that more ideas get put into the hopper, and that allows better solutions to come forth. Whenever you have a brainstorming session, if you only allow one group and one idea to be expressed, if that's a bad idea, it ruins everything. And that's what we're seeing here in America in certain circumstances. So let me just play a little clip of her right now. She's essentially going to say something that I don't agree with. And this is what it comes down to. The argument by these people is that the flag is not the issue. So here, Colin Kaepernick over here, he's kneeling down during the national anthem. Now, she's trying to say that it's not about the flag, that it's about getting their idea out that there is systemic racism in this country. And again, I have no problem with them asserting that idea. Let's talk about it. Let's find out if it truly is what is the truth. Let's get to the truth. So let's hear her right now. I'm gonna play this clip.
Like your experience when you hear the national anthem and you see the flag is different from my experience and is different from Drew's experience. So when he says he's not going to respect, he'll never respect anyone who disrespects the flag, is disregarding anyone else's experience with the flag. But that's not the reason why people are upset. The reason that people are upset is his protest is not about the flag. It has nothing to do with the flag. And because of the presentation that the flag and the national anthem has become at sporting events, there is a psychological association that has come with the flag and the national anthem with the military. When in fact, the national anthem has nothing to do with the military. It's the national anthem. You're not in the military. I'm not in the military. We can still sing the national anthem.
I gotta stop for 1 second. Again, she's entitled to her opinion. But I don't think there's a disconnect here when she's talking about the flag not being about the military. No, it's not only about the military, but she's trying to say that it's not about the military. Yes, it is in this fashion, that the military in this country is used to protect our freedoms, which the flag represents. So yes, it is a little bit about the military. I'm sorry, Joy, but it is. I know what you're trying to say, but you're wrong here. You're absolutely wrong. Let's keep her going here. I'm going to keep her voice heard.
Still stand for the national anthem because it's about country. There's a psychological association that when you hang a flag, you're supporting the military. And maybe you are, but that doesn't mean that because I don't have a flag up, I'm not supporting the military. It has nothing to do with the military or the flag. It's just a moment. His protest was in that moment because that is a presentation when everyone is watching. It's going to have the most impact because it's about awareness. That's why when you use a platform, a large platform, it's going to get the most eyeballs for awareness.
Yes.
It's not about disrespecting the flag. And that's why people are upset, because this was years ago and Drews had to have had conversations about this. It's not about the flag.
Okay. Okay, so she says it's not about the flag. First of all, again, I have to say, when she says that it's not about the military, yes, it is. A little bit it is. Because again, our military defends our freedoms, and the flag represents that. Now, about this situation where she says kneeling during the anthem brings a lot of attention. It's a moment in time, and it makes people think more when you're kind of disrupting a solemn moment. And it is. It's a very solemn moment. And by them disrupting that, she's saying that brings more attention to it. Now, I have a problem with that. One of the problems is you do not disrupt a moment of patriotism. Remember, we have a patriotism for America and what it stands for. What does it stand for? It stands for freedom. And therefore, when you're interrupting that, naturally, many people who believe strongly in that symbolism of the flag and freedom are going to look very negatively upon the person who interrupts that, who disrupts that entire, solemn moment. And that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a situation where these people are interrupting a solemn moment of patriotism. We love America and we love the freedom that it stands for. So that's the problem here. She doesn't understand that. There's a disconnect. She thinks, oh, we need to make this moment. We have to interrupt. What you're doing is you are agitating. This is what agitators do. Political agitators. What they do is they try to disrupt moments, okay, to say, well, we need this time. We're going to disrupt this moment. First of all, it's very disrespectful. It's very disrespectful to our flag, to everything that America stands for. You just don't do it. It's a bad idea. Now, look, am I against them making their statement at a time when it's appropriate for them to make that statement? I have no problem with them after a game or even before the game. Maybe give them a few minutes to say what they want to say. This is what I believe in. I believe we have a problem here. Can we address this problem? Can we sit down and talk about this problem? Well, here's the problem with that. That's fine. They can say that. But that's not what they really want here. Because again, when I spoke my piece to Joy, okay, when I said to Joy, I don't agree with that. I think it really is about the flag. What did she say to me? She told me basically, I'm not going to show you the specific tweet that she sent back, the retort. But she essentially told me, you don't get to speak. You need to listen. Shut up. You're nobody. That's not what this is about. If they want to actually have a conversation in this country, want to have respect for the other side, for the other view, and they want to actually get to the bottom of this, they need to listen too. In other words, both sides need to sit down and hash this out. So when she said that, and I'm going to excuse Joy, because Joy is a young woman. I don't know her specific age, but I know she's a young woman. She doesn't quite understand yet that respect goes both ways. And even if you don't like what's happening in this country, you think that the other side's disrespecting you, you still have to show respect. She doesn't have, and neither does the Democrat Party or the Antifa thugs. None of these people have the political capital to put the other side down and say, shut up and listen. They don't have the political capital. Remember, this country, okay, by the millions, half of this country voted for Donald Trump. And if you want to squabble about the fact that you said Hillary won the popular vote, look, I'm not going to argue about that. The point is, half this country voted for Donald Trump. And many people who stayed home and didn't vote, they probably support Trump. They probably just didn't get around to voting for him. It happens. So you can't even say, well, it was less than half. No, you can't say that. The point is, it's roughly half. And that means you do not have the political capital to shut your opposition up. You just don't. Okay, now to the fun stuff. Let's get to the fun part here. Colin Kaepernick, he has even said, well, it's not about the flag. Everybody's saying it's not about the flag. You know, you get a lot of celebrities and political leaders. It's not about the flag. He was kneeling down about police brutality against black people, and it's a racist issue, and blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem. Let's go to an article. Let's go ahead and go to an article here just to show you. I love it. I love it how when you have history that actually tells you it's the opposite. Let's read this article in the New York Times from a while back here. Nike, however you want to say them. Nike drops Betsy Ross flag sneaker after Kaepernick criticizes it. Uh-oh. Let's read a little bit. The controversial special edition of the Air Max 1 Quick Strike sneakers. Ooh. Nike planned to celebrate the 4th of July with a new sneaker. A special edition of the Air Max 1 Quick Strike featuring that most patriotic of symbols, an American flag. Oh yes. But rather than include a flag with 50 stars as part of its design, the sneaker's heel featured a 13-star model, a design associated with the Revolutionary War, the Philadelphia seamstress Betsy Ross, and for some people, a painful history of oppression and racism. Notice how this is now, remember, this is the New York Times. I'm doing this from the New York Times. So immediately, a painful history of oppression and racism. Well, first of all, untrue. And let me give you a little history lesson on this, that when America started, when our founding fathers sat down at the Continental Congress to draft the Declaration of Independence against England, we wanted freedom from them because they were treating us with unfairness. Again, oppression. You want to talk about oppression? They weren't just oppressing black people. They were oppressing everyone that lived here in the colonies at the time. Now, again, there were slaves. Yes, in the South, there were slaves. That was horrible. In the North, however, black people were free. And there was not this same impression in the North as there was in the South at that time. You didn't have them being treated like less than human, like they did in the South. So yes, we know there was slavery and oppression in the South during that time. We know that. But you also have to understand something, that America, according to our founding fathers, America was supposed to be about freedom, not racism. It had nothing to do with racism. And we began to grow. When we became a nation and when we won our independence from England, we grew in that freedom. Over time, yes, it took a while, but over time, we began to cast off all of these things that were oppressing us. The slavery of the South, the discrimination. Later, we still had Jim Crow laws. I understand that. Later, it took time for us to grow as a nation out of that entire presupposition that black people, for some reason in the South, were treated as less than. And we know that happened. We know that it took time, but we eventually grew out of it. And by the time we got to the 1960s, 1970s, we began to learn that, you know what, we've come out of this. Now we have true freedom for all. It happened. But let's go back to, again, our founding, back to the Continental Congress, when all of the member colonies were gathered together and they were going to sign this document, the Declaration of Independence. You have to understand, and it's the truth, this is the way it was, that the Southern colony members did not want to sign a Declaration of Independence unless the Northern colonies agreed that slavery would not be taken off the table. In other words, the Northern colonies wanted to eliminate slavery as part of the charter for the United States. The Southern colonies were not having it. Because you have to remember, again, this was largely economic as well. Remember, they relied upon their slaves to drive their economic engine, which was mostly agricultural, if you know. Now, I don't know if you knew that, but it was agricultural. So, the North had to make a decision. You know, they had to say, if we don't allow this to kind of be put on the table on a shelf for a while, let's table it and shelf it. Let's think about this later. Let's deal with this issue later and we will fix it. But right now, we have pressing issues. We have to gain our freedom first. Because it really wouldn't matter. None of this would matter. We would not have America as a nation today if we just said, nope, if the Founding Fathers had said, nope, we're going to be hardline on this. We are going to allow, we want to stop slavery right now. And what's going to happen? The North is going to fight England by themselves without the help of the Southern colonies? It just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. So they had to make compromises. Now, again, you could say today how racist that they had to compromise something like this. But again, you have to remember the times they were in. They were not in times like today. People didn't think the same way. That's just a fact. That's why we grew as a nation. And remember something. America, the flag, everything that you see today, the symbols of the flag, America, it was designed to look to freedom. That's what you're doing. You were looking to freedom. And freedom is as a concept, freedom is the ideal. But that doesn't mean that you're living in the ideal 100%. You're never going to have 100% of that ideal. Trust me, we still have issues in this country, obviously. But the point is, you should be looking to the ideal. This is why we have the national anthem and Old Glory is flying before our sporting events. Because you're looking to the ideal. And this is what these people don't understand. People like Colin Kaepernick here, they don't understand that you should always be looking to the ideal, and you should show some respect to the ideal. Not to the fact that things are perfect. You know, in other words, things have to be perfect before you will stand up and show respect to what America stands for. I think that's the problem. He doesn't understand. He's immature. He doesn't get it. That it doesn't matter that things are not perfect. You have to look to the ideal. You have to show respect for that. And I don't think Colin Kaepernick, or I call him Colin Kaepernick, he doesn't understand this concept. He just doesn't. And I wish he did, but he doesn't. Let's read a little bit more on this article here. On Tuesday, Nike canceled the release of the sneaker, again plunging headlong into the nation's culture wars. The abrupt cancellation came after Colin Kaepernick, the former National Football League quarterback and social justice activist, privately criticized the design to Nike, according to a person with knowledge of the interaction. Mr. Kaepernick, who signed a lucrative deal to serve as Nike brand ambassador last year, expressed the concern to the company that the Betsy Ross flag had been co-opted by groups espousing racist ideologies, the person said. Which, again, where's he getting this from? That's ridiculous. I don't even understand where he gets this idea. So, guys, let's go back. It is about the flag to people like Colin Kaepernick and the black social justice warriors, the BLM movement, Black Lives Matters. You know, I'm sorry, but yes, it is about the flag to them. They want to remove that. They want to change this country into something else. They do not want the original intent, which is foolish, first of all, because the original intent of the flag, that symbol, is ultimate freedom for all. It is the ideal. And that's why we stand up and put our hand over our heart. The hand over the heart is what? It is the representation of our solemn pledge to uphold freedom. So for him to kneel before that flag while we're all standing, okay, to respect it and to look to that ideal, what he's saying is, no, I want to remake everything. I want to change all this. Well, what do you want to change it to, Colin? Do you want to support the leftist activists who are extreme? Do you want to support that kind of, extremist behavior? They want to go back to what? They want to go to Marxism. They want to go to tyranny. Look, why do you think they're not waving around American flags? They're not even waving around, nothing. They're not walking around saying that, we believe in freedom, but we think that flag is a little oppressive based on its history. Based on the history of America, I should say. That flag doesn't represent any oppression that we did enforce on certain people. It doesn't. The flag represents the ideal of freedom that we were working towards. Because remember, it's all about the power. You had people in the South, the southern colonies, and of course later, when we won our independence, the southern states, had a certain degree of power. We couldn't just change their minds overnight. We couldn't just go in there and force them to believe a certain way. So how did we do that? Remember, guys, we had to have a war. The Civil War is how we were able to wrestle back some of the freedom, okay? We wrestled the freedom for the slaves. We gave them back their freedom, and we fought hard for that. Many people bled and died for that. In fact, mostly white people bled and died to wrestle back that freedom for the slaves. Okay? Now, again, did it give them equality right away? No, it took a while. It did take a long time. Nobody's disputing that, but I think we've arrived for quite some time now. We've arrived. And again, that doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist. Obviously it does. It exists from all sides. But again, is there inherent racism in this country? Okay, I don't understand how they can even say that it's inherent. Let's take a little chart here just to show you that I think Colin Kaepernick might have this wrong. This chart shows what? It shows that, let me go back to that chart. Okay. Interracial violent crime incidents 2018. Now, it is showing 2018, but it's pretty much accurate across the years here. I mean, you're going to see similar numbers in this era. You have black on white crime, 547,948. Black on Hispanic crime, 112,365. White on black, 59,778. White on Hispanic, 207,104. Hispanic on white, 365,299. Hispanic on black, 44,551. Now, what strikes me here is the black on white crime. Okay? It shows us that there's a lot of crime against white people by black people. Now, that doesn't mean that across the spectrum of America that's what's happening. This could be isolated to inner city situations that have nothing to do with racism. Again, I'm not even calling black people racist for committing a majority of crimes here against white people. Not at all. It could be something unrelated. It could be isolated in the major cities where you have a high concentration of people, and there's a lot of crime, and it's not just black people committing the crime, but it's also white people. And, for instance, a lot of this might be drug deals gone bad. Who knows? You know, I don't know exactly where every single person in these statistics, where they lay. I don't know. But, again, this is saying the media says down here, this is media. See how it says that? This is media? In other words, the media is concentrating on white on black crime. Oh, look. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, look, it's not good. No crime against anybody is good. But again, the media is kind of focusing on the wrong thing. We have a problem here in this country, and we have to fix it. So everybody's got to sit down and fix it. What's the problem? Now, in my humble opinion, I believe that it has really nothing to do with systemic racism. I believe there's a problem in our inner cities, and it has to do with a particular party and group that has mismanaged these inner cities. They have mismanaged in their leadership, and they've allowed these cities and these regions to fall into an abyss, a terrible abyss. For example, back in the 60s, there was a statistic that showed that black women in general they were single mothers and in very low numbers. But even those numbers they didn't like. I don't even remember what the number is, but it was low. It was low. I think it was under double digits, actually, percentage-wise. Now it's like over 70% of black mothers are not married. They're unwed. So in other words, they're single mothers. They don't even have a man in the house. Not even about marriage. It goes beyond marriage. They don't even have a man in the house. That is a problem. Now that's one thing. I blame the leadership who run those cities. What are they teaching people? Are they teaching good values? That it's better to have a two-parent household. It absolutely is. I don't care what anybody tells you. It's absolutely better to have a two-parent household. You know, but what do? Instead of saying that, instead of having laws and policies that project that, what they do is they have laws that incentivize single motherhood. In other words, they will give them money only if they are single, alone in the house, no man. They'll give them a bunch of money. Now, that doesn't mean, some of these women could be hiding a man in the house, but the point is, why is that man not presenting himself? Okay, I'm in the house. I am a father for this child. Even if it's not the biological father. Someone saying, I want to be a father to this child. I want to stand up and say, I'm going to be a father. Well, there's no incentive to do that when they tell the woman, hey, we're not going to give you any money then because that man's going to take care of you, so you don't need money right now. But they tell them, hey, we're going to give you a crap ton of money, give you your own place to live in, but can't have a man there. That's a bad idea. So this is what happens when you incentivize that. Over time, this turns into a big mess. And again, that's just one example. I don't want to get into several examples that would take too long in this particular broadcast. But that's what I'm trying to tell you is that you have these situations where we have real serious problems in those regions. And instead of saying, well, it's systemic racism, that's what it is. White people hate black people, and we gotta stick it to them, and they gotta shut up. They have nothing to lend to this, and they can just shut their mouths, and we'll fix this. Well, how long have you guys had to fix this? You haven't been able to fix it. You know, I hate to say it, but Joe Biden talks about fixing all these problems now. He's been in office, almost 45 years he's been in power in one capacity or another, and what has he done? We still have a lot of the same anger. We have a lot of problems. Now, I do believe that racism has reduced by a grand margin in that time. But there's other problems now. Now you've got this false sense of racism, this false hatred by the left wing. They're trying to foment anger and race divisions in this country. It's a terrible thing, guys. It's a horrific thing. And it's got to stop. You can't have this. You can't have what's going on here. Cannot have this. It's just a horrible thing. You know, and Colin should be ashamed. Yes, guys, it is about the flag. Believe me, it is about the flag. I'm sorry, but when you say that they have to kneel down during the national anthem just for the attention, you can get the attention in many other ways. Trust me, the world is focused. They've been focused on this issue for a long time. And what you have people who are saying, look, we can help solve this. Let's sit down. But the problem is they don't want to sit down, guys. They do not want to sit down. What they want to do is they want to shut you up. They want to be able to stand on their bully pulpit and tell you what, is going to happen next. And this is why when Trump won, this really upset them because they knew that their power was diminished by a large margin. And so what do? They send out their little minions into the streets and commit violence. They scare people. That's what they're doing. And they shame the police. So if the police rise up and try to quell this little rebellion, this little insurrection by the, Antifa thugs and other thugs, what do they say? Oh, brutality. Brutality. You see, we were right all along. Look what they're doing. Well, it doesn't work because you're making no sense because a lot of the police that are striking back, they're not striking back against only black people. They're striking back against anyone who is committing a violent act against innocent property and innocent people. So it's a stupid argument. Every argument they try to make, it blows up in their face. It just doesn't make any sense. They're creating chaos, not only like physically out there in the streets by harming people and destroying property and stealing and looting everything they're doing, but they're also creating chaos in their arguments. Their arguments don't make any sense, guys. They just don't. And I don't understand it. I don't understand how they can even say that this is not about the flag when Colin Kaepernick himself, he actually nixed an idea. He nixed the idea that the flag should even be put on a sneaker. He was able to have the power to have that taken off. If it's not about the flag, Colin, then why the hell did you get rid of it? Why didn't you say, well, you know what? All right, the flag represents freedom. Even that original flag, you can say, well, that represented oppression because that was our flag originally when we had slavery. And he's right. There was slavery under that flag, but it was not, first of all, shared. The sentiment was not shared by the whole nation. It was essentially a compromise that we had to make to the South in order to gain our freedom from England. In other words, one step at a time. We were taking steps, taking measures. You can't have everything you want, Colin, right away. And I don't know why you're complaining. The NFL was fully willing, if you remember. Do you remember? Oh, look what the headline is for this one. No teams have reached out to Colin Kaepernick following Atlanta workout. Well, why didn't they? Do you remember why? Because remember, look, I'll read this here. This is what happened. Colin Kaepernick looks on during a private NFL workout held at Charles R. Drew High School on November 16, 2019, in Riverdale, Georgia. Due to disagreements between Kaepernick and the NFL, the location of the workout was abruptly changed. By whom? It was changed by Colin Kaepernick. He changed it. So the point is, he showed disrespect to them. He didn't have a workout that was already designated for him to do. The NFL was fully willing to have him do workouts so that maybe one of the teams would want him to play. He made the argument, he's trying to make the argument that, they're discriminating against me, they don't want me in the league because of what I did. No. You were not in the league because you didn't play well enough. They didn't want you there. Now, you might say, some people could make the argument that, yes, he was doing things that were causing disruption in the NFL, and they were actually hurting NFL ticket sales and viewership and merchandising. Yes, he was doing all those things. He was causing those disruptions. But if he had been a really good player, if he had been a very effective player, then maybe they would have overlooked that a little bit. Maybe. So the point is, it can be a combination of those things. It can be. But the point is, he wasn't good enough as a player to be able to say, I call the shots here. Let's negotiate this. And you can say that, how dare they? That's terrible. Well, it's the NFL. They want the best product out there. And if he's causing disruptions that are hurting the brand of the NFL, yet he doesn't have the gravitas to do so, then you know what? Why would they have him there? But you know what's funny? They were still willing to overlook that and say, let's give him a workout and see if maybe we can't reconcile and come to some agreement here and do this. Nope. What does he do? He ends up having a private workout, essentially telling them, screw yourself. I'm just going to do this thing here separately. In other words, he was still showing defiance, not respect. And I'm not saying that he would, again, bow before them, but have a mutual respect, come to an agreement. So what does he do? He wears a shirt here. See what this shirt says? Kunta Kinte. Remember that Roots? They made a mini-series back in the 70s about a slave named Kunta Kinte. Now, it was a great series, but the thing is, what is he doing here? He's just creating more division. Nobody believes that there is systemic racism in this country. Nobody that is reasonable would believe that. But these people, they want to keep this division going, and I think it's horrific. Guys, it's just a terrible thing. I am absolutely, I'm getting angry because they're just trying to cause more problems. They're not really wanting to come to the table. So my thought is this. Hey, Colin Kaepernick, the BLM movement, whatever you want to say, you have to say it and allow the other side to speak. You have to have a meeting of the minds here. You cannot say, you must kneel before us and we will speak and you will shut up and you will learn from us. That's not the way it works. You don't have the gravitas. You don't. You may think you do, but all you're doing is causing more confusion in the streets. When you're doing all this damage, killing cops, killing innocent people, looting, damaging property, all you're showing is that you are a thug. That's all it shows. And America will not respond to that in a positive way. What they will do is they will go to the polls in November and they will vote for Donald Trump again because they don't want this garbage. Get this garbage out of our country. If you don't have the respect, you don't deserve the respect. Get out. And I'll be back right after this. Hey, okay, we are back. Not for long, though. I think I've ranted enough about this malarkey. But, just to let you know, Colin and the rest of you there, you BLM activists and Antifa thugs and leftists everywhere, you're not going to get what you want by throwing a tantrum. You're just not. So we're going to let that, we're going to let you maybe continue with your tantrum for a little while longer because we're patient. Americans are patient people. And we're caring and we're loving. We love you. We love people. But this will come to an end at some point. And when it's over, it's basically going to set you back by many decades. This is going to end any respect that you might have had before this, that we have had for you. It's going to kind of, it's going to damage your credibility to possibly a lethal degree. You may not be able to recover from this. And frankly, maybe it should be that way if you're going to do this. Maybe you should never have the kind of gravitas and power that you try to snatch away from America here. So with that, guys, remember to visit my website, michaelantonio.biz. That's michaelantonio.biz. You can also shop here. I've got a shop, and that will be under michaelantonio.biz/shop. Easy enough for you. I have a lot of great stories of the day. You can also subscribe to my daily emails where you get a lot of stories of the day, a lot of aggregated stories from different news sources. It's a one-stop shop in that sense. You can go here. You don't have to go to different websites to get the stories. You can go right to my website, and it's a clearinghouse for all these different stories. And I think that's better for you. Gets, kind of saves you a lot of time and effort. So please join me on these sites. And once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. Ciao, everybody. Hey guys, if you want more great content from me,